Okay, so sorry it's been a while. I've had a busy week of school this week. So let's talk about how to keep track of where your money goes. It's very important to keep track of every single cent that passes through your hands. So first of all, you need to keep track of how much you earn per month. When we talk about salary, we usually say how much we earn a year because it's usually a more impressive number. But ironically, when people talk about how much they spend, they tend to use a smaller number, like $4 a day on coffee rather than $1,464 a year on coffee. But because it's usually easier to budget monthly, you need to know what your monthly income is. If you're paid bi-weekly, there are probably a couple of months a year where you get 3 paychecks. And if you don't want to deal with that confusion of 2 months of unusual income, you can multiply your income from one paycheck by 2.167, and that gives you your monthly income. Sometimes it's easier to deal with net amounts and use the number you get after taxes and other deductions. So write down that amount and hang on to it. So now you need to keep track of every single penny you spend. If you don't have some type of fancy Quicken program, I'll show you a super simple way that we do it. So most people think I spend $400 a month on food. And while that might be your budget, if you were to actually count up all the eating out, groceries, $3 here, $10 there on fast food and treats and other things, those little amounts really add up fast, and you might be surprised to learn that you're actually spending double what you thought. Now there's really no trick here except to just write it all down. Keep track for one whole calendar month to start, week by week, day by day. Do not let one single transaction, cash, credit, check, anything go unrecorded. It might end up looking something like this. If you're just starting out, all you really need at this point is the date and the amount and description. This is the really simple version used just to see how much you're spending. So you don't need to change anything in your spending yet, just keep track. When you're finished, you can compare that amount for the month with your net income, the number you came up with earlier that you multiplied by 2.167. And I'll bet that you'll become aware of how you've racked up all that debt. You may be shocked and surprised at how much you actually spend compared with what you thought you were spending. And you'll be able to see how that money is leaking out of your life. So as you continue to change your lifestyle, continue to keep track, and you'll be surprised at how fast the months go by, and soon you'll have a full year of exact spending recorded. If you remember from the first budgeting broadcast I did, this is where you can find out how much you need for unpredictable bills for the year. Remember, like travel and clothing and Christmas and such, and then average them based on 12 months. And you'll have a pretty accurate picture of how much you should be setting aside each month for those items. And if you don't remember, here's a very quick reminder. In order to keep those bills the same every month that are sporadic, you come up with a total amount for the year that you spend on a specific thing and average it based on 12 months. That way now you can be putting aside that money each month into a virtual envelope so that you have that money allocated for a specific purpose. Like if you wanted a $600 budget for Christmas, you should be paying $50 into that Christmas envelope each month until December. So all of our envelopes are in a big lump sum in the bank, and I keep track of the breakdown in my Good Budget app. That entire lump sum we've named the Freedom Account because that's what Mary Hunt calls it in her book. Now this might get a little bit more confusing, but I'll share it anyway because it might be helpful for anyone who's trying to figure out the logistics of how to do this. This is just the way that we found is the simplest way to record our spending and ensure that everything gets paid off before the end of the month, like paying back the credit card and everything. So aside from our savings account that is for our 3 to 6 month contingency fund in our bank, we have 2 other main checking accounts. The first one is kind of the traffic account where money comes in and goes out. We like to have at least the amount of 1 month of regular bills sitting in that account at all times so that hypothetically if we didn't get paid till the very end of the month, we could still pay all our bills until that paycheck came through. If that makes sense. The second account is our freedom account, where our lump sum of all these envelopes is kept. So when we use money from an envelope, that amount has to be moved from the freedom account to the traffic account, so that the money can now be used to pay off whatever payment method was used to buy it. And I'll show you an example of how we do this. So this is a little bit more complicated version of the method I just showed you, but it is the same thing essentially, except that I've added a few boxes here. On top of the date and amount and description, I also added payment method and an empty box next to it, and freedom account with next empty box next to it. So the idea is that these empty boxes are here for me to check off once the money has been taken care of for that particular item. So I'll show you an example. So on November 4th, I paid $60 for clothes with a credit card. So I need to pay back the credit card before the end of the month for that item. But I'm going to be taking money out of my clothing envelope to pay for it. So I'm going to be doing this left-handed, so it's not going to be great. But so once I have transferred that money from my freedom account to my traffic account, I can check that it has been taken care of. So that is now, money has now been moved. So now I know that I can pay off that credit card, and once the credit card has been paid off for that item, then I can check that off too. I'm using my left hand, sorry. So then, for another example, so then I have $55 for a phone bill with my credit card. Now, I don't need to use a freedom account envelope for this because it's just a regular bill that's the same every month. So I don't need to move any money, so I don't need to put anything in those envelopes. But because I used my credit card, I do need to pay back the credit card for that bill from my traffic account. So then I have $15 for a babysitter down here that I paid with cash or debit, whatever. So I don't need to pay anything back for that because the money's gone. I've already paid cash, or it's been debited out of my account. The money's gone. It's been paid. But I am going to take money out of my entertainment envelope to pay for that babysitter. So I'm going to transfer money from that entertainment envelope to my traffic account to replace the money that I've used already, that I already paid. So then it's been taken out of that envelope account. So then I have $88 for car insurance here, paid cash for it, and it's because that's a regular bill, it's not coming out of a freedom account over here, and I paid cash, so the money's already gone, so I don't have to do anything with that. So now all these transactions are taken care of, and everything's been paid back that needs to be paid back. And because I prefer to do this on printed out paper, actually writing these things down physically at the end of the month, once everything has been paid and taken care of, I'll go down the list and record all of these transactions on a separate Excel document organized by type of cost so that we can see how much we spent, the total amount we spent on our car or our home or for food, and so on. And that document, say November of 2016, then gets filed away in our 2016 folder, and we now have an exact record of what we spent and earned that month, and then I start over with a fresh sheet for the following month. And remember, if you don't have any envelopes set up at this point, the amounts that you spend are going to be different every month. They're going to fluctuate. So that's why it's helpful to come up with a yearly spending document as well. Once you accumulate 12 months of spending, that way you're able to see the average amount of what you spend per month on those unpredictable costs. This can be really daunting if you haven't been keeping track of your spending at all, but it's really not that complicated, and if you can just start by being genuinely curious about what you've been spending, it shouldn't be too hard to find a system that works for you. Now, if you're also weighed down by some debt, next time I will talk about how you can pay back that debt quickly and with minimal interest. So, I'll see you next time.